Extensive exercise question number 3 of lesson 5. The figure below shows a square with a set length of 2. 4 identical and overlapping semicircles are joined along each edge of the square. What is the total area of the shaded region? So as for this one, you will see this 4 parts. They looks like 4 leaves, right? And then actually they're all the same. So for this shaded part, let's call that part 1. You can definitely move that part 1 into this part. So this one will be shaded, right? Because these two are the same. So I can just get this part shaded. Okay. So if I translate that this shaded leaf, let's call that part 1, right, to that part. So I don't need to count the area of this part. So basically the area that I need to count will be this now. Will be this pink one. All right, that's it. Will be this one. And as for to get the area of this part, we can also cut that into 3 parts. So let's see, what are we going to do? We can cut it here and here. If you do so, this part will be a complete square, right? And of course, we can get the area of that part because the question tells you this whole square got a set length of 2, so the set length of this will be 1 and 1. So 1 and 1. So then the question will convert it into, we're going to do the area of this square plus the area of this part, let's call that part 2 and part 3. And actually, you will find that part 2 and part 3 will be exactly the same. And so we need to use the area of this square. We can call that ABCD, right? Which is 1 times by 1 equal 1. That's the area. And also adding the area of this part 2 and 3, because part 2 and part 3 are exactly the same, so you only need to work out what's the area of part 2. And then to get the area of part 2, we have to focus on this square. Okay? You see that the area of part 2 is just the area of this square. Take away the area of this quarter circle, right? So let's say part 2. Area part 2 equals to the square, which is 1 times by 1. Take away that quarter circle, which is a quarter times by the r squared. And we know that r equals to, pi squared, pi r squared, right? So pi, you're going to take 3, so times by 3, and times by r squared. We know r equals to 1, so that will be 1 squared. So what is the area of part 2? That will be 1 times by 1, take away 3/4, right? So it's just a quarter. 1 minus 3/4, you got 1/4, okay? So as for part 2, the area is a quarter. Part 3, the area is a quarter. So the total area of this shaded region then equals to this area of this red, of this yellow square, that is 1, and you plus 2, you plus part 2 and part 3. So both of them are a quarter and a quarter, right? So if you add them together, you got 1 plus a half. So a quarter plus a quarter equals to a half. Then that will be 3/2. So that's the answer to this question, which is 3/2, or you could do 1.5.